Hello everyone, hope you all are doing well. I welcome you to our channel IAM Technocrats. I'm really happy to welcome you all and for selecting this course. My name is okay, let's leave the name. I don't think that matters here. What matters here is this course. Today I will bring you a really important module of cyber security, that is identity and access management, also known as IAM. This course will help you to understand the overview of identity and access management, also strategy and functions used for IAM. Let me introduce myself to you all. I am a computer science and engineering graduate, currently working for US based MNC as a lead IAM engineer. I am having 11 years of IT experience with 7 years of experience in IAM. I have worked for various India, US and Europe based MNCs. I have also worked for Big Four companies. I am AZ900, SC300, ITIL V4 Foundation certified and SailPoint Identity Now Administration and Implementation trained professional. I have worked on multiple identity governance and administration tools, implementation projects, and their engineering. So, stay tuned to learn more. We live and operate in an ecosystem of digitally connected entities, people, and data that increases the likelihood of exposure to cybercrime. The advent of the digital world and the inherent interconnectivity of people, devices, and organizations up to a new population of vulnerabilities. More and more cyber attacks across industry sectors are creating an emergency to examine how business is approached to cybersecurity. Many companies are experiencing significant cybersecurity incidents driving immediately from business processes and technology to protect assets and data from cyber threats. Cybersecurity attacks are common and are increasingly damaging financial, operational, regulatory, and reputational perspective. IAM Technocrats starting to educate in cybersecurity services for assisting aspirants around the world to address the cybersecurity and business risks. Today, we will focus on identity and access management, a foundational element for any cybersecurity program. We are here to educate you how these services help the organizations to detect real-world attacks and to improve their overall cybersecurity posture. Identity and access management, also known as IAM, supports clients with their definition of access management strategy, governance, access transformation, and ongoing operations. IAM includes the processes and technologies that are collectively used to manage the life cycle of digital identities or profiles for people, system, services and uses. It is a crucial part of keeping a client's data and key resources protected from cyber attacks and limited only to those who should have access. So, without any delays, let's continue this session. To make the most efficient use of our time, I have four main segments to discuss identity and access management. First, we will get a basic understanding of what IAM is. Then we will decide the why, how, who and what aspects IAM such a purpose, strategies, functionalities and systems. After that, we will learn our approach of IAM and finally we will discuss the IAM tools and delivery methods. So let's get started then. Our first section in the course roadmap contains what is Identity and Access Management or IAM. IAM is the discipline to manage identities and access to enterprises resources and is a foundational element of any information security program. To define both the terms, identity management includes the processes and technologies. In this case, would be provisioning, recertification and deprovisioning. They are collectively used to manage the life cycle of digital identities for people, systems and services. On the other hand, access management includes the processes and technologies which in this case are authentication, authorization and monitoring that are collectively used to ensure users can access the right resources and are using privileges appropriately. Both are interrelated and rarely performed without the other. Access manages identities, and when you manage accesses, you control the identity pieces. Watch this now to get more view on IAM. Let's see the identity management first. The processes and technologies, for example, provisioning, modifying, and deprovisioning, that are collectively used to manage the life cycle of digital identities for people, system, and services. It is used for establishing unique identities and associated authentication credentials, provisioning new users' accounts, managing identity data and credentials, for example, self-service password reset. Next, creating workflow processes for approving account creation and modification, providing the ability to modify, suspend or remove accounts, auditing and reporting of user identity information. Now the access management part. The processes and technologies, for example authentication, authorization, and monitoring that are collectively used to ensure users can access the right resources and are using privileges appropriately. It is used for ensure that the roles and policies are followed. Managing the different user roles and their profiles and process user access requests based on the data profile roles. Next, providing the ability to modify, suspend, or remove accesses. Providing authentication and authorization methods. Last, auditing and reporting of user access information. Identity and access management describes the management of individuals' authentication, authorization, and privileges within all across systems and enterprise boundaries with the goal of increasing security and productivity. As organizations increase in size and complexity, they become subject to increasing regulation, evolving technology, and the pressure to operate in that speed. Managing this becomes very challenging. Imagine house with several keys, a key that let you in the front door, the bedroom, a safe. As you build a new wing, the turn down into rooms, you have to keep track which keys work, to who should be given, and which keys need to dispose. You do your best to keep your home and valuables secure, but as the numbers grow, so does the burden of managing access and overall security. If this goes unchecked, you find yourself in a situation where you have to kick it at the right time, or you have undergone to find a different way to manage it. It is why we undergoing this very important initiative. We are at the point where systems and processes are so fragmented that it poses a risk and a threat to the protection of assets. The IAM initiative will be multi-year initiative with very clear objectives and key milestones to achieve. It will automatically help to protect the firm, reduce risk, simplify, and modernize. It needs IAM professionals help to achieve these objectives from the firm for the firms they are working for to make them secure and make life easier for all. Identity and access management provides security and risk management, standard processes and technology, regulatory compliance, governance, and enhanced user experience. Our first section in the course roadmap was what is Identity and Access Management, or IAM. Now, the next section contains the why, how, who, and what of IAM. The why will help us identify the purposes and motivations of IAM. The how will identify the strategies and models applicable. The who part will help us recognize the organizational and functional aspects of IAM. and finally, the word part will distinguish the technologies and systems used for IAM. If you think about the big questions of why, how, who and what, we can see the importance of IAM. In this section, we will start with why. Why is a compliance question. Often, organizations respond with we control identities and access because we don't want a red flag in our audit. But organizations should know why IAM is important to them beyond the compliance. Once the organization fully understands why IAM is important, then they can configure out how to address it, who will own the process, be involved, and what technologies and processes are needed to reduce risk. Why is the pragmatic content of security by dealing with risk, trust monitoring, reporting and auditing requirements? Without this solid foundation, IAM projects cannot succeed. For example, 75% of IAM projects fail because organizations only focus on the technology, which is only about 5% of the entire picture, without fully considering the business drivers and context. Let's continue to talk about why here. We often think about an identity as person who access the various systems and application, but today's environment is lot more complicated than that. Instead of thinking a single person's digital account, we need to consider that a person has several accounts to spread across all the tools he or she is using and accessing. Network of networks, which is the prolonged network of people and things where every machine to machine connection is actually mediating human connection. Networks are simultaneously network of collaborating, and we need to remember they are also open to threat if not managed properly. The top 5 business drivers of IAM are: first, risk reduction and its security; second, regulatory compliance; third, business facilitation and end user experience; fourth, operational effectiveness and efficiency; and the last, fifth, cost containment. Now we move to how to do IAM. The how will identify the strategies and models applicable. Further, as we mentioned briefly, how is focused on what solution is needed and what plans, steps and execution the organization will implement. Let's now discuss complexity of an IAM environmental specifically. We will learn how complex this cyber environment is and how that translates to IAM. Identity data moves across many teams and systems in the organization. However, many organizations do not have well documented or organized policies, procedures, and technology to manage it. In organization, usually have multiple types of identities. You need to consider various user categories in this process, such as employees, contractors, and business partners. For each user, an organization needs to go through the lifecycle process of getting the appropriate access for softwares and systems required for business operations. The screen displays that a systematic process is needed to handle those access requests, including the initial setup, maintenance, and eventually termination of access. If we continue to fill the process, the next layer decides the tools and processes. For example, as an employee, you need access to emails, phone number, Teams, organization websites, SharePoint websites, etc. For each of these, your access rights need to manage via the second layer systematic process. Continuing, it is now a common experience that everyone can attach to multiple accounts. Simplify this means that everybody using tools on network will have several passwords, and therefore there would be multiple names and credentials when they log in to different platforms and applications. This brings us to the last layer, large number of systems. This information flowing to the internet in various systems passes through dozens of computers. The network is not simple, it has many steps and layers. Do not think only large corporations are complex. Even your internet service provider have many machines and systems. We just discussed the how of IAM, but who is involved? Who recognizes the organizational and functional aspects of IAM? Let's discuss who participates in IAM process. IAM always implies organizational change. It impacts all teams and areas in organization. It can often be demanding in terms of time and internal resources to manage the IAM processes. Often, this aspect is overlooked if IAM is seen as a technical project. The who section is not quite complex, but because of it encompasses aspects of organization structure, role allocation, as well as the direct IAM stakeholders. It refers to the mobilization and participation of all the pertinent areas and requires a strong and ongoing inputs from various business teams and service owners, as well as their acceptance of the process. This requires organizational level support and identity data governance and IAM program steering. Hope you are enjoying the course. I am just taking a pause here to know your mid-course reviews. How are you finding this course? In what all domains you work? What makes you to be interested in this course? What are you looking to learn from this? Is there any specific topic which you want to learn? Please comment. That's right, and that's why the company should ask these key questions. Do we have the appropriate leadership and management structure in place? Do our users management solutions enable and support our business teams properly and effectively? And the last, are the correct teams mobilized for this? As with anything, there are some challenges. Digitalization presents IAM challenges in three dimensions as given on the screen: user population, access channels, and applications and infrastructure. The user population are getting more extensive and more diverse. Services cross international boundaries and data flows between countries with different legal systems. People interact at multiple levels. They become mobile and work outside every company walls. In many organizations, the people who are externals are key players in the business, may be greater in number than the permanent staff. Access channels or path used by people to connect to the organization or business are complex. People can use a phone, a tablet, a laptop, or maybe a desktop to access company data. Finally, applications and infrastructure are getting more complicated and have more layers and components. It is not clear where the data is, or where it is processed, or who can read the organizational information. Let's learn more about aspects that cause these challenges. First of all, user population includes consumer and citizen awareness, consumer generations, consumer mobility, diversity, variety of users types, employee mobility, virtual workplace, enhanced digital experience, and requirements of CRM. Further to it, access channels includes device diversification, bring your own device, third-party authentication, federation, deperimeterization, mobile applications, international mobility, and requirements for biometric. And finally, applications and infrastructure include collaboration, cloud computing, virtualization, shared infrastructure, globalization, international mobility, networks of networks, mergers and acquisitions, partnerships and joint ventures, and the last, cross-border operations. We discussed the why of IAM just now, but what is the objective of IAM? What distinguish the technologies and systems used for IAM? Let's discuss this further. Finally, the what part helps organizations to identify what technology and processes are needed to reduce risks and what is their IAM objective. Let's discuss this in detail. The what question refers to the qualitative aspects of the solution at a material level. The focus is on the appropriate processes, technologies, and skills required by the work plan. As a result, we address the identity data as an object and the tools that store and drive across the organizations. So the focus is on the questions: are we delivering the tools and processes effectively according to the requirements? The ultimate objective of IAM is to ensure secure accesses to resources in timely and effective manner. To do so, there are varieties of IAM services. Some of them are displayed here. This screen displays some more IAM services. Identity management typically relies on a pure set of technologies through aggregate and provision access to security services. This is usually known as an IAM system or IAM platform. The technologies used for this typically receive the name of the identity management systems, identity warehouse, entitlement catalog, and provisioning systems. But what does an identity management system actually looks like? Let me try to answer that for you. In a fundamental view, it looks something like this. You start at the top with the business structure. Within the business structure, it includes the organization's entity and cost center data. The next stage is when the user data, for example, employee registration, is entered by the HR department and the users are allocated to specific departments. From there on, the data generally moves to identity management systems. This maps the users to specific business functions and roles. In turn, these roles give access to systems and data. Next is the directory, where the user data is provided to the enterprise directories from further enrichment with the user location, phone number, etc. IAM systems are the next level. IAM systems offer task-based access control, which lets system administrators regulate access to systems or networks based on individual users' tasks within the enterprise. In this context, access is the user's ability to perform a specific task such as view, create, or modify a file. Finally, we get to the target systems. Here, the user data with an additional attributes and credentials reach the systems and applications. Let's talk about this further. IAM system supports the identity lifecycle. The management of identity and access permissions can be viewed at multiple stages. The identity lifecycle diagram illustrates the stages that users perceive through when joining a business workforce and obtaining access to the tools and assets necessary to do their job. It includes stages to ensure that employees maintain appropriate access as they move within the organization, with access being revoked or changed when they separate or change roles. An IAM program requires a well-defined strategy and governance model to guide all the life cycle phases. View each phase of the life cycle to learn more about the definition, objectives, and common challenges on coming pages. Phase 1. User access request and approve. It defines gaining access to the applications and data required to be productive. It often contains an approval workflow where the application, system, or data owner confirms the necessity of the requested access. The challenges it faces: processes differ by location, business unit, and resource. Approvers have insufficient context of user access needs. Users find it difficult to request required access due to complexities in its presentation in the access request system. Phase 2 is provision and deprovision. It defines granting users appropriate entitlements and access in a timely manner, revoking access in a timely manner when no longer required, for example, due to transfer or termination. The challenges it faces are timelines to grant or revoke access are excessive, inefficient and error-prone manual provisioning process used. Access profile cloning occurs inappropriately. Ad hoc job role to access profile mapping exists. Last, inappropriate access may not be deprovisioned. Phase 3 is enforce. It defines enforcing user access to applications and systems using authentication and authorization. It also enforcing compliance and access management policies and requirements. The common challenges it faces are applications don't support central access management solution such as SSO integration. Access management policies have not been defined. Role-based access is used inconsistently and is not well governed. Segregation of duties is not defined or enforced. The next phase is report and audit. This phase defines business relevant key performance indicators and metrics. Auditing user access. The common challenges this phase faces are KPIs or metrics do not exist or do not align with business driven success criteria. Example: reduce risk by removing terminated user access on the day of termination. Audits are labor intensive. Phase 5 is review and certify. It defines reviewing user access periodically to realign it with job function or role. The common challenges are processes are manual and differ by location, business unit and resources. Reviewers must complete multiple, redundant and granular access reviews. Reviewers have insufficient context of user access needs. The last phase is reconcile. It defines enforcing that access within the system matching approved access levels. The common challenges are actual write on systems exceed access levels that were originally approved. An authoritative identity repository does not exist for all user types, including contracts and non-human service accounts. Our first section in the course roadmap was what is identity and access management. The second section was the why, how, who and what of IAM. Now, the next section in the course roadmap contains the approach to IAM. Let's move on to the next section. Here we will discuss our approach for implementing IAM for our clients. As we think about IAM service offerings, we first need to think about how IAM fits within the large cybersecurity picture. Identity and access management is in the center of everything, as shown on the screen. The company cannot think about digital, smartphones, cloud business security, etc. without thinking about the access or identity impacts. Security ultimately means access control. Behind every security measure, there is an identity control measure, and companies often forget this component. Identity and access management links to various service offerings and should be considered in our many security projects. Here are some of the services. Digital identity strategy and assessment. The services to access, design and implement digital identity strategy. Business requirement analysis, strategy and roadmap definition, cloud, hybrid or on-prem. Tools and technology rationalization, evaluation and selection. Next, business integration and intelligence. The services to measure, design and improve access management models. Identity data analysis and remediation. IAM operation optimization. Access model enhancements. Reporting and metrics improvement. Next is IAM privileged and multi-factor solution engineering. Services to design and implement architecture and technology to enable a digital identity strategy. Identity and access architecture and design. System integration and implementation. Service deployment and transition. Solution migration and optimization. Next is managed identity. The service is designed to transform, run and maintain identity as a service. It includes IAM transformation services, digital identity as a service, solution management, and application onboarding. The last one is digital identity innovation. These services are designed to develop and test identity models and methods. It includes application onboarding factory, rapid prototyping, automated testing, and virtualization. Talking about the IAM services, we also need to understand that information technology is not the only rapidly evolving challenge companies face. Cybercrime is a continuous and prevalent issue, particularly to the extent of economic and reputational damage that it can cause and the role that some nation plays in sponsoring corporate espionage. That's why a strong IM program helps to reduce the effectiveness of the cybercriminals' tools, including privilege escalation, reconnaissance, remote access, social engineering, and data exfiltration. The following techniques could help counter these attack vectors. First, privilege access management. Organizations have to check at least yearly who has access to critical applications. Next, password management. Organizations require increasingly centralized management of passwords. This is part of provisioning process. Next is identity enabled networking. Access to networks can be given on the basis of identity. This serves to ensure data and informants account access controls. Next is authentication and access control. Every user has to present the right credentials to access networks and data. Authentication is the first step in this process where the user enters their username and password and any other required credentials. The last is integration with data loss prevention tools. Companies have legal obligations and internal requirements to avoid losing data to unauthorized parties. DLP is the technology which supports this function. Our first section in the course roadmap was what is IAM. The second section was the why, how, who and what of IAM. The third section in the course roadmap was our approach to IAM. Finally, in this last section, let's discuss IAM tools. Before we wrap up this session, it is important to discuss how an IAM project would look like or what tools you would need. Exactly, talk about these important topics. We need to develop a strategy aligned with the business needs and consider people, processes and technology issues. As discussed earlier, don't think of IAM as an IT only initiative, especially when it addresses business usage and the regulatory requirements. You should be strategic, not tactical, when planning and designing a solution. Because IAM is pervasive, be prepared for objections and concerns during any transformation process. So broadly, what should be considered to be successful? Avoid the big bang approach. Use a risk-based, phased implementation approach to ease the integration and adoption of IAM changes. Don't rush to buy and implement a tool without first considering the necessary business and process transformation requirements. Tools on their own do not guarantee improvements in maturity. For the success of an IAM program, it is critical to create an inventory of applications, systems, and the definition of business-friendly access roles for profiles. So, with that, let's move on. The time to transform an IAM program is right after you have considered the IT trends, evaluated the capabilities, and identified business drivers. The success of an IAM transformation depends on the interaction of people, processes, and technology. When integrating people, process, and technology, organizations can be inundated by technology options. Check out the considerations on the screen. Consider these points and make your IAM transformation effective. Appoint experienced team members on the project and ensure that the client had dedicated and engaged staff to support the effort, because it takes a long time to become skilled in IAM methodologies. Control implementation, process reengineering, stakeholder alignment and programs, and change management. Use a risk-based and business-centric approach. Consider the downstream impact on the organization structure as well as key stakeholders, so that any IAM enhancements can progress smoothly and with minimal disruption of business. Be proactive in establishing ongoing support by designating an experienced operational manager. Avoid confusion and contention over priorities by appointing one executive level owner who is empowered to make decisions as required. Document access control processes and perform periodic testing to validate that processes are being followed. Inform key stakeholders early that business processes will have to change to accommodate the importance of IAM capabilities. Temper that message with the fact that IAM can simplify processes by eliminating manual, error-prone access management procedures, including access requests, approvals, and reviews. Configure and, if required, customize IAM products to meet IAM requirements that are unique to the organization. Define priorities of the client organization to select the technologies that best support their needs. Add descriptions to entitlements as a key activity in transformation programs.
Use business-friendly definitions that avoid technical jargon.
Into the business drivers we have just discussed. Organizations need a framework to manage their IAM program. We have developed a comprehensive framework of functions and aspects which need to be covered. We call it framework because it covers all the bases of IAM. It helps as a structure when talking with the client, when investigating the current situation of IAM in an organization, and when writing reports and proposals. We can locate all the parts of IAM in the framework across the entire program. You will learn that governance, including policies and standards, compliance and oversight, is key to supporting the framework. It provides the processes and authorization mechanisms that are used to maintain control over data and security. This includes governance of the data itself and the technology used to manage it. Identity and credential layer shows the processes associated with identity management access that we discussed previously. Each user will ideally have one digital identity. In typical cases, users have several digital identifiers. On the other hand, each application and system may have different credentials, including passwords, certificates, attributes, and tokens. These are necessary to authenticate and then authorize the user. Access or access controls are those functions that act as gatekeepers for the applications and databases. We also speak of access control enforcement because these functions apply rules and guidelines to permit or disallow users from reaching into business data assets. Authoritative sources represent different potential sources of information about users and access in an organization. User data is generally created in the HR database or using other forms of user registration. The authoritative data sources are those where the users are created first and under strict controls. It is assumed that the data and resources will be of high quality and will be maintained according to appropriate standards. Finally, administration and intelligence provide user administration. For example, when users join the organization or leave, system administration must follow security guidelines and user administration principles to keep the organization safe. This framework will guide each project writing to adopt the format and the content. Of course, the terminology may be different depending on the client, given the business drivers we just discussed. IAM tools. As mentioned, how the IAM framework fits in different organizations can vary with how they address the categories. For example, an organization may be good at access settings but may not have a strong governance process in place to handle the overall IAM program. Here are some of the IAM tools which are market leaders. Identity governance and administration tools. They are SailPoint Identity IQ, SailPoint Identity Now, Savient IGA, Omada Identity, Omada Identity Cloud, One Identity Identity Manager, IBM Security Verify, ForgeRock Identity Platform, and Microsoft Identity Manager. Here are some access management tools: Okta, Microsoft Azure Active Directory, Ping Identity, OneLogin, ForgeRock Open AM, CyberArk AM. AM here is access management. Next is privilege management tools. And the market leaders in this category are CyberArk Privileged Access Manager, Beyond Trust Password Safe, One Identity Privileged Access Management, and Delinea Secret Server. Now spend a moment to let me wrap up the content of the 4 modules you have completed. In the first module, we defined the terms identity and access, reviewed the associated tasks, and also listed the difference between them. In the second module, we learned about why IAM is essential, how to address IAM, who is involved, and what technologies and processes are needed to avoid risk. Next, we discussed how IAM fits within the broader IT picture and overview of security services, the cybercrime threats, and the factors to consider for successful collaborations between companies and systems. In the final module, we talked about IAM tools. Finally, in this course, let's take a look at all the essential processes managed under IAM solutions, IAM needs, and what benefits can be achieved by implementing. Essential processes managed under IAM solutions are onboarding processes, IAM processes, and risk processes. Let's see them one by one. Onboarding processes contain hiring, onboarding, job mobility, and termination. It includes provider employees, contingent workers, and vendors. IAM processes contain access request and approval, provisioning and deprovisioning, and access enforcement. It includes standardized self-service request and approval portal, increased automated access management to applications, hosts, databases, clouds, and mobile devices. Access policies defined and enforced secure access, authentication, and last, authorization. Risk processes contain risk analysis. It includes access certification and monitoring, risk-based access certification, SOD analysis scan, elevated user activity, SOD violations, and last, user access anomalies. The next topic is IAM needs. Identity and access management needs job roles, risk analysis, standardized access profile, and strong access controls. There are n number of benefits of implementing identity and access management tools. Let's see few of them. They are streamlined compliance, automated controls to reduce risk, efficient certification, business intelligence reporting, 360-degree visibility, auto provisioning, reduced cost, user-centric and user access profile driven, single source of identity. At last, I would like to thank you to view and learn our course on behalf of our channel IAM Technocrats. I hope you got a valuable knowledge as never before. If so, do like, subscribe and share with your friends and known who really want to make their career in identity and access management. Stay tuned to learn more. Please share your feedback in comments section. You can also write us at iamtechnocrats@gmail.com or message on Instagram profile at IAMTechnocrats. You can also follow us on Instagram as well at IAMTechnocrats. Thank you. Bye.